This departure from what should have been imposed on Sean Combs. They're also arguing, which is a real stretch, that these freak-offs and these hotel counters were really amateur-free. It's going to be a real stretch to get to overturn that sentencing, especially when you look at the guidelines on itself under the Mann Act. It's between 70 and 80 months. The judge gave 50 months here. So this type of these arguments, frankly, if I looked at my crystal ball, it's going to fail.
October 30th, 2025, everything flipped for Diddy the moment he got moved to Fort Dix, the exact spot his lawyers pushed for. CBS News dropped his intake photo, and it hit different. Gray hair, drained eyes, looking nothing like the flashy image people knew. Then came leaked footage exposing how rough his days really are. Up at 5 a.m. sharp, grinding through laundry duty for just 23 cents an hour and packed into a dorm with 8 other inmates like it's nothing. This is the side nobody glamorizes. Real life behind bars, no filters, no fame to hide behind. And that transfer on October 30th didn't just move him, it changed everything. After 13 long months stuck inside Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, he sat there watching his whole empire fall apart piece by piece, with no way to stop it. Since that September 2024 arrest, Diddy finally got what his legal team had been pushing for all along. Fort Dix. His attorney, Tenny Garagos, even wrote directly to the judge, stressing the need to tackle drug-related issues, increase family visits, and focus on real rehabilitation. And on paper, it sounded like a win. Just 75 miles south of New York City, way closer to family than Brooklyn ever was. Because MDC Brooklyn, people who've been there didn't sugarcoat it. They called it horrible. So Fort Dix was supposed to feel like an upgrade, a step up, something better. It's actually the largest single federal prison in the entire country, holding around 4,100 male inmates, 3,900 in the main facility, and another 200 in a nearby minimum security camp. But then CBS News pulled something exclusive, and it told a completely different story. Not long after he arrived, that intake photo started making rounds, and it hit hard. Gray hair all over, tired eyes locked on the camera, wearing that plain prison uniform. It showed a version of him his lawyers definitely didn't want people focusing on. The reality wasn't just setting in, it was crashing down. And here's the part most people don't realize. Fort Dix doesn't even run like a typical prison. There are no classic cells, no solid walls separating people. The whole place is built on open dorm-style housing, converted from old military barracks back in 1992. Some units squeeze in 12 inmates with 6 bunk beds stacked tight in small rooms. But it gets even more intense. There are massive open bay dorms holding up to 100 men at once. Just picture that for a second. 100 people all trying to live, sleep, and survive in the same space every single day. According to publicist Judah Engelmeyer, Diddy isn't getting any kind of special treatment. He's right there in the mix, sharing space with 8 other inmates and living in the general population. The same man who once had assistants grabbing water bottles on demand is now standing in line just to use the toilet. That shift hits hard. Every single day starts the same, 5 a.m. sharp, with harsh fluorescent lights flooding the dorms. There's no sleeping in, no special passes, no exceptions at all. Everyone jumps up, rushing to get ready and line up for head count as the strict routine kicks in, ready or not. By 6 a.m., it's breakfast time. But this isn't anything close to the life he used to live. It's mass-produced, basic institutional food served the same way to everyone. No personal chef, no custom meals, just standing in line and eating whatever's handed out. Complaints? Not entertained, not even heard most of the time. Then comes the work assignments, and this is where things really stand out. People have been talking non-stop about the laundry facility and even the chapel library rolls. TMZ got footage showing him right in it, sorting inmate uniforms, washing sheets and linens, and running industrial dryers packed with heavy loads of clothing. This isn't optional either. Federal inmates are required to work, no way around it. And the contrast is wild when you think about it. The same person once known for designer outfits worth thousands is now handling piles of standard issue garments every single day. Someone online summed it up perfectly, and it stuck. CBS News also revealed his second assignment at the Chapel Library, where he's handing out movies to inmates and managing religious materials. Out of all the jobs at Fort Dix, this one's seen as more desirable, quieter than the laundry room, and way calmer than kitchen duty. And yeah, it comes with a few perks, like access to a private air-conditioned office. His publicist even described it as warm, respectful, and rewarding, saying he works in the Chapel Library like it's some kind of smooth situation. But let's be real, the spin doesn't change the truth. At the end of the day, he's still following orders just like everyone else. No special say, no control over how things go. Work runs all the way until 4 p.m., and in between, there are constant head counts. Officers checking again and again to make sure every single person is accounted for. This can happen 5 or 6 times a day, cutting into everything and breaking up any kind of rhythm. That kind of non-stop routine wears people down fast, mentally and physically, and there's no escaping it once you're in it. When evening hits, things don't suddenly get better. It just shifts gears. There's limited recreation time, so inmates can step out to the yard, hit the basketball courts if they're open, or walk laps on the track. Inside, there's a TV room with basic channels, but no internet at all, not even a little bit. Phone calls, heavily monitored, every word possibly recorded, nothing private about it. And those calls actually cause problems. CBS News reported that he broke prison rules on November 3rd by making a 3-way call. According to reports, it involved a conversation with his legal team about putting out a statement to the New York Times. That one move came with serious consequences.
Alicia, always great to be on with you. Let's be very frank about this case. You can't unsee what you saw, you can't unhear what you heard, and you can't unremember what you read. And it's clear that that judge took certain things in consideration that were part of the evidence, and it is permitted under the Mann Act.
The defense tried another angle.
90 days with no phone access and no commissary privileges at all. His publicist pushed back hard, saying the call wasn't even started by him, claiming it came from his lawyers and should be protected under attorney-client confidentiality. But even with that defense, the punishment still hit, and then things got even more strange. On November 12th, his release date suddenly shifted. It moved from May 8th, 2028 to June 4th, 2028, adding another full month with no clear explanation given. Day-to-day life doesn't ease up either. Meals come 3 times a day in the dining hall, but former inmates say the quality is rough. Some even claim the food can be expired, far from fresh, and definitely nowhere near anything gourmet. Special meals? Only if there's a medical reason. People say you start appreciating anything that doesn't taste like cardboard, and that says a lot. There is commissary access, but it's limited. Inmates can buy snacks, hygiene products, and basic clothing, but the selection isn't great, and the prices are marked way up. The money comes from outside accounts with a strict $320 monthly cap, so budgeting becomes serious real fast. And just like that, the day shuts down. 10 p.m. lights out, no exceptions, no extensions, just complete darkness closing in on another long day. As the night settles in, the dorm doesn't exactly get peaceful, it just gets quieter in a chaotic way. You've got 100 men packed into open bay spaces, all trying to sleep at once, snoring, talking, random noise cutting through the dark. It's never truly silent, never calm, and in the back of everyone's mind, 5 a.m. is coming right back around. That same place being called warm and respectful by his publicist, former inmates are telling a completely different story, and it's not pretty. One man who spent 17 months there between 2019 and 2020 shared something that really sticks with you. It's not just about where you are, it's about how you move while you're there. Joe Giudice from Real Housewives of New Jersey, who did 41 months at Fort Dix, spoke on it too. He said Combs' fate depends on how he carries himself, and that says a lot in a place like that. Then he dropped something even more intense. He described early morning moments that most people never see, getting up at 3 or 4 a.m. to use the bathroom and witnessing things that didn't sit right at all, situations you wouldn't expect. Things happening while guards seem to hear it all and just look the other way. Another former inmate backed that up, describing conditions that completely clash with any positive spin people try to put on it. But here's where things take a turn, the side people don't always expect. Even inside, money can still open certain doors. Joe Giudice revealed that inmates can pay for extras, shoes getting shined, clothes adjusted, even access to better food through other inmates who know their way around a kitchen setup. That's just how it is, he said, and that line says everything. Still, none of it comes close to the life he once had outside those walls where everything was on another level entirely. That world, completely out of reach now. Visits become everything in a place like this, but they're tightly controlled and heavily watched. Tyler King, a former inmate and prison reform advocate, explained how strict and limited those moments really are, no matter who you are. Through it all, his 7 kids have stayed in his corner, showing love publicly and posting birthday tributes online. Whether they've actually made the trip to Fort Dix yet isn't clear, but the support is definitely there. Holidays hit differently too, and not in a good way. King explained that sometimes a special meal shows up, and sometimes it doesn't. One Thanksgiving menu at Fort Dix kept it basic. Deli meats or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, nothing more. Christmas brought a small upgrade. Baked Cornish hen, mashed potatoes, fruit, maybe even a dessert. But let's be honest, it's nowhere near the kind of celebrations he used to have. Still, the messages from his kids cut through everything. We love you. We miss you. Quincy even wrote happy birthday to the best dad ever, and that support hasn't faded one bit. His twin daughters added their voices too, but they weren't there in person, and life outside kept moving forward without him.
Everybody's different. I'm sure he went back was somewhat disappointed, so he's probably, dwelling on that. Hey, it could have been differently. Maybe I should have gotten out. Maybe he's a little bit upset, a little bit angry. I get it. All those emotions come into play. But right now, he's got to get...
Meanwhile, his release date is locked in for June 4th, 2028, though that timeline could shift a bit, possibly 22 to 24 months with good behavior, and maybe even less time if a halfway house comes into play. His legal team isn't sitting still either. They filed an expedited appeal back in November, with arguments set for April 2026. And from what sources are saying, he's backed by a strong appellate team, people who know exactly how to handle cases like this. But even with all that in motion, none of it changes what his day looks like right now. Every single morning at 5 a.m., those lights snap on. Every day, he checks in for work assignments. Every night, he heads back to that same bunk, surrounded by people he didn't know before all of this. The lifestyle he once lived is gone, replaced by a prison number and a release date that still feels far off. And those routines, they only show part of what's really going on inside. To get the full picture of Fort Dix, you have to hear from someone who actually lived it side by side with him. On December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas, Sebastian Telfair walked out of FCY Fort Dix a free man. His kids were there waiting, and the relief was real, something you could feel instantly. But the big question everyone had wasn't just about his release, it was about who he spent that time with. Just hours after getting out, Telfair sat down with TMZ for his first interview, ready to talk about his experience and what it was really like being around one of the most talked about inmates in the system, Sean Diddy Combs. And when Sebastian Telfair spoke, he didn't sugarcoat anything. He kept it real. As a former NBA lottery pick who spent a decade in the league, his own fall was already dramatic. Going from packed arenas and private flights to a prison dorm with 5 a.m. wake-ups. From courtside seats to concrete yards, he admitted straight up, it was rough. But even with all that, he couldn't stop thinking about Diddy. I couldn't imagine how Diddy felt, Telfair said, and that comparison hits hard. From penthouses to prison dorms, from private jets to prison buses, from bad boy records to federal custody, that kind of shift isn't small, it's massive. Still, according to Telfair, Diddy hasn't completely broken down under the pressure. And this wasn't just talk. He saw it with his own eyes. Living in the same facility, walking those same yards, eating the same meals day after day, he watched closely. What he described was someone adjusting to a world where fame and money don't carry the same weight anymore, a place where everything gets stripped back. And through all of that, he said Diddy stayed composed, followed the rules, and kept a level of discipline that not everyone can hold on to in that kind of environment. Telfair also brought up Fort Dix's RDAP program, the drug treatment setup that could actually cut time off a sentence if completed. He wasn't throwing shade, he was just keeping it honest about what he saw and understood. Because let's be real, everyone already knew about that past lifestyle. The parties, the excess, the headlines that became a major part of the case, all the chaos tied into it. But inside prison, that version of life stops instantly. No access, no distractions, no escape, and maybe, according to Telfair, that forced pause might be exactly what was needed. He described prison as a place of reflection, time to actually sit with everything, think it through, and face reality head on. It's not something people usually say out loud, but coming from someone who just lived it, it hits differently. And when he said, "Diddy still Diddy?" that line carried weight, not because it excuses anything, but because it shows how identity doesn't just disappear. Even in a place designed to strip everything down to the basics, prison doesn't rewrite who you are at your core, it tests you under pressure. It strips away the image, the extras, all the outside noise, but whatever's underneath, that stays. And according to Telfair, Diddy hasn't cracked. He's in good spirits, not falling apart, not drowning in it, still holding on to that same confidence that once built his name. The only difference? Now it's olive green prison uniforms instead of designer suits, and that contrast speaks loud. This isn't the version people expected either, not the broken down figure some headlines tried to push. Instead, it's someone adjusting in real time, figuring out a new normal, building a routine, finding some kind of structure where none of it feels natural. Telfair even pointed out something most people overlook. There are actually good people inside too. Not just Diddy, but others from completely different backgrounds, all with their own stories, all serving time. And in that environment, connections form that wouldn't happen anywhere else. That sense of community, it's unexpected, and it hits different when everyone's living the same reality day after day. Telfair himself got an early release on December 23rd instead of the 26th, a real Christmas miracle for his family, something he won't forget. But for Diddy, it's likely a different path. Serving out the full sentence, facing different circumstances, even though the daily grind looks the same. Same meals, same dorm setup, same early 5 a.m. wake-ups, over and over again. And while Fort Dix isn't like MDC Brooklyn, where he first landed, that place had a reputation for being far more intense. It still comes with its own kind of pressure that doesn't let up. It's still isolating in its own way, no doubt about that. Fort Dix is considered minimum security, with a bit more freedom and access to better programs. And it was picked very intentionally by Diddy's legal team. The focus was on rehabilitation options and being closer to family for visits, which can make a real difference over time. That RDAP program Telfair mentioned, it could seriously change the timeline. Federal drug treatment programs can cut up to 12 months off a sentence, and when someone's facing around 50 months, that kind of reduction is huge. Telfair's own path to Fort Dix came after slipping up on supervised release. Back in 2023, he pleaded guilty to healthcare fraud and was given probation, 3 years of supervised release, plus community service requirements. But things didn't stay on track. He didn't complete the community service and missed regular check-ins, and those small violations stacked up fast. By August 2024, the judge sent him back in for 6 months at Fort Dix. He was supposed to be released in February 2025, but ended up getting out early thanks to good behavior. And that healthcare fraud case, it was big. 18 former NBA players were involved, all accused of filing false medical claims through the league's health and welfare plan. We're talking about treatments and dental procedures that never even happened, all on paper, all part of a scheme that eventually caught up with them. Those medical procedures, they never even happened, and the total losses stacked up to around $4 million. A scheme that big wasn't going to stay hidden for long. Federal investigators caught on, and once they did, it unraveled fast. Indictments dropped in October 2021, and at first Telfair pushed back. But eventually reality set in, and he took a plea deal in 2023 that many saw as pretty favorable. Still, once he violated the terms, that leniency disappeared just as fast as it came. Now he's out looking ahead, and already talking about what's next. He mentioned the Big Three League, Ice Cube's 3-on-3 basketball venture built for former NBA players trying to make a comeback. A real shot at redemption, a chance to prove he's still got it, even aiming for MVP in a league made for stories exactly like his. Meanwhile, back inside Fort Dix, Diddy's situation kept developing, and his legal team wasn't backing down at all. On December 23rd, the exact same day Telfair walked free, Diddy's attorneys filed an emergency appeal challenging that 50-month sentence. Their argument? That the sentence was way too harsh. They pointed to similar Mann Act cases, where convictions often land closer to 15 months or even less. They also claimed the judge overstepped, acting like a 13th juror by considering details that weren't part of the jury's actual findings. And that claim could carry serious weight as things move forward. The appeal even went as far as calling it a perversion of justice. But legal analysts weren't convinced for a second. The defense tried pushing a different angle too, claiming the recorded encounters were amateur content between consenting adults, arguing it should fall under First Amendment protection. But that argument, it didn't hold up well under scrutiny and felt like a serious stretch. When you look at the actual numbers, federal sentencing guidelines for Mann Act violations usually fall between 70 to 80 months. Diddy got 50, which suggests the judge showed restraint, not excess. That's why many believe the chances of a successful appeal are extremely low. The law itself stands firm constitutionally, and from a legal standpoint, the process follows standard procedures step by step. Still, outside the courtroom, Telfair's support carried a different kind of weight, not legally, but on a human level. Because once you're inside, all the extras disappear. Titles, status, money, influence, all of it gets stripped away. What's left is just the person underneath. No distractions, no image control. And that's the part of the story that keeps unfolding day by day. Appeals are still pending, programs are getting underway, and time keeps moving whether anyone's ready or not. Telfair is now focused on his Big Three comeback, trying to rebuild life after facing real consequences. Meanwhile, Diddy remains inside, locked into that daily structure, putting in the work, sticking to the routine. Two completely different worlds, basketball and music. Two different paths, different charges, different outcomes. But somehow, They're tied together by the same experience of watching everything familiar fade away. And the real challenge? Holding on to your dignity when everything comfortable gets stripped away. According to someone who was right there beside him, Diddy is doing exactly that, step by step. Then came a major development. November 2025. Sean Diddy Combs officially enrolled in a program that could seriously shift his future. The residential drug abuse treatment program at Fort Dix isn't light work. It's 9 to 12 months of intense cognitive behavioral therapy, living in a structured environment designed to force real reflection and accountability. It's about confronting the habits and decisions that led to this point, head on, no distractions. And the incentive? Too big to ignore. Complete the program, and it can knock up to 12 months off a sentence. For Diddy, that could mean walking out in May 2027 instead of May 2028. That's a full year of freedom on the line. But here's what a lot of people overlook. RDAP is not some easy box to check and move on. This is the Bureau of Prisons' most intense drug treatment program, built around a modified therapeutic community model that demands real effort every single day. We're talking daily group therapy, written reflections, accountability exercises. This isn't something you can just fake your way through and slide by. His publicist confirmed the enrollment using carefully chosen words, clearly trying to keep things polished. But behind the scenes, documents obtained by CBS News told a more detailed story. During the trial, his attorney, Tenny Garagos, admitted something key: documented substance abuse issues within the 12 months before his arrest. That detail mattered a lot because it opened the door for RDAP eligibility. Without that admission, no program. And without the program, no shot at reducing time. Looking back, the legal strategy starts to make more sense. But getting qualified doesn't mean you're automatically in. Across federal prisons, thousands of inmates are sitting on RDAP waiting lists right now. To even apply, you need at least 24 months left on your sentence. And then program coordinators step in to review everything. They verify the history, check documentation, and decide who actually gets a spot. And even then, it can take time. Joe Giudice spoke on that reality too, and he didn't sugarcoat it. He made it clear. People don't just walk straight into RDAP. There's usually a line. But somehow, between his public profile and strategic legal moves, a path opened up. And that's the part that has people talking. His legal team had been aiming for Fort Dix from the start, even pushing for it in their sentencing recommendations. At first, Judge Subramanian pushed back, making it clear that defendants don't get to choose where they serve time. The Bureau of Prisons makes that call. But somehow, things still lined up, and he ended up exactly where his team wanted him. That kind of strategic planning doesn't happen by accident, and in this case, it clearly paid off. Now, the RDAP program itself is broken into 3 serious phases, and none of them are easy. Phase 1 is all about residential treatment. You're placed in separate housing, away from the general population, and it's intense from the start. Daily group therapy, counseling sessions, cognitive behavioral techniques, relapse prevention. It's constant work, no breaks from it. You do get a certificate after this phase, but that doesn't mean you're finished, not even close. Phase 2 shifts into community integration, where you slowly start interacting more with the general population again while continuing therapy. It's about building discipline, life skills, and proving you can follow every single rule without slipping. Because one mistake, just one failed drug test, one violation, one disciplinary write-up, and you're out of the program completely. And that certificate, it means nothing unless you complete all 3 phases from start to finish. Prison consultant Christopher Zukis called the potential sentence reduction massive, and it's easy to see why. Taking a full year off a 50-month sentence isn't small. That's real time, real freedom on the line. But the trade-off, the program demands everything, and it doesn't let up. Daily therapy circles in RDAP aren't surface level. They demand real vulnerability. Most inmates aren't used to opening up like that, especially in front of other prisoners. You're expected to share personal struggles, talk through the root of addiction, and face past behavior head-on. No deflecting, no hiding behind status, money, or a polished public image. That therapeutic community model, it breaks down every defense mechanism you built up over time. You're living side by side with other RDAP participants, holding each other accountable, pushing each other to stay on track, all within a strict and structured daily routine. There's barely any downtime. Half the day is spent in the program, the other half at your assigned job. In Diddy's case, that means working in the chapel library while still attending those intense sessions. The entire setup is intentional. Keep your hands busy and your mind focused. No space for slipping back into old habits. But then, things took a turn early on. Just 4 days after arriving at Fort Dix, November 3rd, he was hit with a violation for breaking phone rules. 3-way calls are strictly prohibited under Bureau of Prisons policy, and according to reports, he made one. The call allegedly involved an unnamed woman where they discussed bringing 200 singles for a visit and then added another person described as a digital person to talk about blogs. That situation triggered serious consequences. Officials recommended 90 days without phone access and 90 days without commissary privileges. And the timing? It landed right on his 56th birthday, making it hit even harder. His publicist responded by saying it was all a misunderstanding, describing the call as routine attorney-client communication initiated by his lawyer. But despite that explanation, the penalty still stood, adding another layer of tension to an already strict environment. His side claimed nothing improper happened, but the disciplinary report painted a different picture entirely. According to reports, Combs said he never received the prison admission and orientation handbook that clearly lays out the phone rules. But that explanation didn't exactly clear things up, especially with everything already under scrutiny. Then TMZ dropped another claim, alleging he got involved with prison-made alcohol, often called hooch or pruno, which inmates ferment from fruit. That's strictly against the rules. And if true, it would mean yet another violation added to his record. His team shut that down fast, denying it outright, and posting on his X account about focusing on becoming the best version of himself. The response came quick, and it was clear. Damage control was in full motion. But former warden Dwayne Hendricks didn't hold back when speaking on what situations like this could mean. If Diddy wants a real shot at succeeding in RDAP, he has to show strong institutional behavior, keeping a clean record, following directions, and proving he's actually committed to the process. Because getting into RDAP is one thing, but finishing it, that's a whole different challenge. The program demands full compliance, good institutional behavior, a clean disciplinary record, and following staff direction without hesitation. But Diddy has already had a couple of early slip-ups, and that timing raises real questions. When issues show up this soon after enrollment, people start wondering, is this real commitment or just a strategic move to cut time off the sentence? Judge Mathis weighed in with a strong take on what should have been included from the start. He argued that the defense overlooked something major, mental health treatment. According to him, Diddy admitted to being bipolar, and that's not something you manage casually. It requires proper care, structured treatment, and in many cases, medication to stabilize things. Not just talk therapy, but real clinical support aimed at balancing things properly. Mathis believed the court should have made that part of the sentence directly. That perspective points to what many believe is the true purpose of programs like RDAP. Not just punishment, but actual rehabilitation. Cognitive behavioral therapy focuses on changing thought patterns, building better coping strategies, and giving people tools they can actually use after release. Relapse prevention, life skills, structure. It's all meant to prepare someone to re-enter society in a stable, productive way. But even with all that, skepticism around Diddy's intentions is still strong. Can someone really change after years of living a certain way? After having power, influence, and resources for so long? Or is this just a calculated move to work the system and reduce time? That question is still hanging in the air, and people are watching closely. Can both things be true at the same time? That's the question hanging over everything right now. The therapeutic community model in RDAP forces people to face that head on. Living alongside others who've hit their lowest point strips away any fake image fast. There's no room for pretending. And with peer accountability in play, other inmates will call things out if they sense manipulation or half effort. That kind of environment demands real openness, and not everyone can handle it. In fact, a lot of people don't even finish RDAP because they can't keep up that level of honesty and consistency. The rules are strict for a reason. Get caught with contraband, break any rules, fail a drug test, skip sessions, or show bad behavior, and you're out immediately. The bar is set high on purpose. This isn't designed to be an easy shortcut to reduce time. It's meant to completely shift how someone thinks about addiction, choices, and consequences. That's why Diddy's early violations are raising eyebrows. The phone incident alone is being seen by some as a sign of ignoring rules. And if the alcohol claims were ever proven true, that would be an even bigger problem. Right now, every move is being watched closely, and one more mistake could shut the whole opportunity down instantly. Post-release, the rules don't just disappear. RDAP's impact stretches far beyond the prison walls. After finishing his sentence, he's looking at 5 years of supervised release, and that comes with strict conditions. We're talking regular check-ins with probation officers, ongoing drug testing, and tight travel restrictions. You can't even leave the area without getting permission first. The monitoring doesn't stop the moment those prison gates open. So what does a successful RDAP outcome actually look like? It means completing all 3 phases, earning that 1-year sentence reduction, staying sober the entire time, and avoiding any more violations. It also means showing real growth. actual reflection and change, not just going through the motions. That path could lead to a May 2027 release instead of May 2028, a full year back with family, a full year regained. But there's another side to this. If he gets removed from RDAP, that opportunity disappears instantly. No time reduction, no early exit, just serving the full 50 months with that May 2028 date locked in place. The pressure couldn't be higher. Every single decision he makes inside matters now, and the debate isn't going anywhere either. Some believe it's real rehabilitation happening in real time, while others see calculated moves aimed at shaving time off the sentence. Believers see real commitment to change, while others stay skeptical. But maybe both things can exist at the same time. Maybe the push to get out a year early is what sparks the effort, and once inside the program, something deeper starts to shift. That's where RDAP really does its work. Fort Dix's therapeutic community is built to strip everything down. Every excuse, every justification, every defense mechanism built over years of power and influence. Daily therapy circles demand honesty that money can't buy, and group sessions require a level of openness that status can't protect. And peer accountability, that's something you can't fake. The people around you see everything up close, and there's no hiding behind an image or reputation in that environment. If he actually finishes the program sober, more self-aware, and truly changed, then RDAP proves its value again. Not because anyone deserves special treatment, but because the system works when people fully commit to it. Because real treatment reduces harm, and real rehabilitation does more for society than just locking someone away and leaving it at that. The residential drug abuse treatment program isn't some easy escape route. It's a final shot at becoming something more than just a cautionary headline. It's a real opportunity to show that even someone with power, privilege, and protection can hit rock bottom, face the truth, and try to rebuild from it. May 2027 or May 2028, that's what it comes down to. One path points toward discipline, growth, and possible redemption, while the other leads to more time, and the same cycle repeating. Transformational strategy, real change, or just survival? That question is still wide open. Every single day inside Fort Dix, inside that RDAP unit, decisions are stacking up, and the clock isn't slowing down for anyone. What happens next is fully on him, no excuses left. What do you think? Real transformation or just a calculated move? Like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments.